Now, I'm certain it comes to no surprise to anybody. I do not hide the fact that I'm a big fan of fantasy books. I've loved them since I was a kid. I would always love them. Fantasy would always have a special place in my heart, but I'm not gonna lie. There are some things in fantasy that are just a constant, and there are days when I'm just like, can we get something new, please? And that was what gave birth to this video. And I'm like, okay, let me talk about the things I hope to see more of in fantasy. Number one, I would love to see more fantasy creatures that go beyond the usual, you know, vampires, werewolves, ghosts, etc. Like, yeah, we've gotten them. They were okay the first couple of 100 times, but come on, every other book, it's always a werewolf, it's always a vampire, it's always a ghost. And I'm like, give me something different. I want to read more puka stories. I want to read more banshee stories. I want to see more gorgons in books. I love fantasy creatures. I love fantastical creatures. And as much as I love dragons, there are so many books with dragons, you know, but not as many books with phoenixes, for example. So yeah, I definitely want to see more fantasy creatures that are different from the usual, you know, the normal. Am I saying that we should totally scrap them? Of course not. Those are what fantasy books are technically about. Yeah, but please give us more fantasy creatures. I want to read more books with the basilisk, for example. Like, please help me. Thank you. The second thing I hope to see more of in fantasy is a reinvention of the old lore. Like, yes, sure, we have the usual lore. Vampires can't be in the sun, garlic is toxic, dangerous to them, they can't say the word God, etc. You know, things like that are the usual law. And I think that even if it is that we're not going to totally and completely lose the oldies, because they are the center, the cornerstone of what makes fantasy, I would like us to do a reinvention. Give me new laws about vampires. Let us make new laws about them and make them more commonplace. So for example, I want to see a writer, for example, start a new law about vampires. Maybe tell us that vampires are allergic to chocolate. Does that make any sense? No, but that's the whole point. I just want them to reinvent the wheel. Like, stop giving us the same old premise. We already know some things are already established. I just want to see a little bit of something new. Is that so bad? Like, give me a little bit of something new. For example, what happens to werewolves during an eclipse? Like, can something special happen? You know, for the first time, can they possibly bite or scratch a human and the person wouldn't undergo a transformation because it's the eclipse? Like, I don't know. Someone tell me, please. Give us new laws. The next thing I want more of in fantasy is more antagonist driven stories. Like, we see a lot of protagonist stories. It's a common thing. You want to support the hero, but I'm not saying that there are no antagonist driven stories. I think that Prince of Fools by Mark Lawrence, for example, does feature an antagonist and we follow the story through the person's eyes. Is it Prince of Fools or is it the book that came before it? I can't remember. I'm just slowly getting into Mark Lawrence. So I am still unaware of the different characters and the different worlds, but I know that they all are interconnected and they all intersect at different times. But I do know that Mark Lawrence wrote a book that was focused, you know, told from the perspective of the antagonist, or was he a villain? I'm not sure, but I want more antagonist driven stories. I think that human beings by nature, we are not all perfect, we are all not nice, you know, and the protagonist story for me, as yeah, sure, we all need somebody good and decent for us to support, but I also do want stories from the person that is not a protagonist, that is basically a bad guy. He's just not as bad as the villain. He just has more of a moral code than the villain does. But even with that, sometimes you're like, are you really a good person? I want to dive into that mind, their world. I want to see how they are going to behave in such situations. Once again, like I said, there are antagonist stories, but I want more of them. That's the whole point, essence of this video. Things I want more of in fantasy, because if you consider the ratio of a hero protagonist driven story compared to one with an antagonist, you would see that it's not equivalent in any way. For every 1,000 hero good role model type story, you have one antagonist driven story, and that is unfair for me, because I repeat, I like antagonists, I like the bad guys, I like villains, and I want to see more fantasy stories told from their perspective. Like, imagine how fascinating that would be. Besides, I think that antagonists have a much more interesting story to tell than villains do. At least they are not suffering from the goody two shoes syndrome, and for that I will forever be grateful. Another thing I want more of in fantasy, more fantasy standalone books. Like, thank you Parry of the Orange Tree, thank you Sorcery of Thorns, thank you An Enchantment of Ravens, thank you The Book Thief. I want more standalone fantasy books. I think that we don't get enough of them, and I think it is sad, because, like, sure, sometimes you want to read series, but sometimes you just want a complete world and a complete story in one book, and you want to walk away. And that is why fantasy standalone novels are just amazing and brilliant, and I definitely want more of them in my life. I think we need more. But at the same time, this leads me to my next point. At the same time, I also definitely want more of longer series, more longer fantasy series. I know I'm a ball of contradiction, you love me that way, but like, just hear me out, okay? I want a 12 book series, a 15 book series, a 20 book series, and that is a perfect segue to point out the fact that I will be starting to read The Wheel of Time this year. Yes, would I finish it this year? I doubt it. Those are a lot of books, but I definitely want to start The Wheel of Time this year. So yeah, like, I want more fantasy. I want more, like, longer fantasy stories. I find them fascinating, and I definitely want to see more of them. So give me standalone fantasy, but also give me longer fantasy series. Like, let us drop. I am tired of, not tired, but like, we get a lot of trilogies, we get some duologies, but we get some quartets, you know. But like, give me 15 books, give me 16 books, give me 20 books in a series, you know, with following multiple characters. I want to, when I love a series, a book series so much, I rarely ever want to let it go. I think that I'm always thinking, oh, we could follow this character, we could follow this thread, or we could follow that world, or we could go to those people and just like keep expanding on this world. And I think that longer series give us the opportunity to do so. So I definitely want to see longer fantasy series, like long, very long. We like them long. Shit. Apologies, my mind, what the next thing I want to see more of in fantasy is other shifter stories. Like, I'm tired of werewolves, I'm tired of werecats, I'm tired of, like, please give us the unusual. I want to see a goat shifter story, I want to read a chicken shifter story, a parrot shifter. I want to read a porcupine shifter story. How is it that these creatures that they are, how do they translate towards their behavioral patterns when they are not in their shifter forms? Like, does the porcupine shifter, what if we have a porcupine shifter who is totally different from what you would expect? Like, you think porcupine and you think you'll be a prickly person in real life, but in real life it's like really sweet and he likes to bake cookies and everything, but when it turns to a porcupine, it's like, don't touch me. Pew. Like, think about it, fascinating. Or imagine a parrot shifter that cannot shut the fuck up when it's in its parrot form, but when it transforms, it's pulling a word from him, it's like pulling blood from stone. Like, imagine that. There is so many possibilities. Writers, let us just, please, let go of it. There are so many we like werewolf stories, we like dragon stories, etc., etc. But please, come on, give me unusual shifter stories. Like, please. I want a Kraken shifter story. That would be fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And finally, the last thing I want to see more of in fantasy is more of books that are not set in the traditional, in the West, in America, in Eurocentric areas. Like, let us have them different. And I'm thankful now, because fantasy is becoming so much diverse. We're seeing African inspired fantasy, we're seeing East Asian inspired fantasy, and that makes me so happy. And I want more of that. Let us just keep that thread going, because yeah, sure, lots of Europe, lots of Americas, but the world is way bigger than that, and there are so many traditions and mythology and gods that we can experience in a book. And I'm happy that we are getting that, but I just want this momentum to keep going, for us to keep following the stories. Like, just give us more of fantasy stories that are outside of the usual Europe and America and, you know, the West. Like, please. But yeah, that is this video. Let me know what are some of the things you want to see more of in fantasy. Leave them down in the comments down below. If you like this video, please do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. Check out my other videos, subscribe if you want to, and if you do, please click on that notification bell so you can know every time I have a new video go up, like the minute it does, because YouTube algorithm has been acting wonky of late. But I make new videos every Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I'll see you soon. Until then, stay passionate, love books, love yourself. Bye.